to our latest Meet the Management podcast. My name is Marc Ashton, and today I'm joined by Yondie Metu, from the CFO from RH Bophelo, the JSE listed healthcare business. Reminders to the audience, the purpose behind this series is to give people an insight to the people behind the businesses we see on the Cape Town Stock Exchange, on the JSE, and really just to give help tell a story behind the businesses. Yondie, thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for the invite. Really appreciate that we could be part of this. Good afternoon to you and to the rest of the people.
Excellent. Maybe as a starting point, I mean, I know a little bit about your story, but in context, I mean, what is the value proposition or investment proposition for RH Bophelo?
Yes, so RH Bophelo is a health investment company. We're listed in two exchanges, actually. It's the JSE and Rwanda Stock Exchange. So our slogan is health is wealth, and we really believe in a healthy nation because that will increase the economic activity, and therefore for us, health is a need, it's not a luxury. So our value proposition is to provide affordable healthcare to everyone. So we do this by identifying strategic investments. We partner with people that are in the same field in the ecosystem in order to be able to deliver affordable healthcare to lower and middle income brackets. So that's where we are. So our strategy is just ensuring that we've got the value proposition. So where we started was that our key focus area was asset gathering. That's when we started buying our physical infrastructure, the hospitals. We then moved into ecosystem development, which was the healthcare related financial services. And where we are now is where we've pivoted our strategy, where we've termed it asset light. So essentially, it's the value add in terms of the physical infrastructure. So that includes our pharmacy distribution, it includes pathology, it includes radiology and dialysis. So we see this as a full value chain in order to be able to afford to give affordable healthcare to our customers.
I think one of the big questions, I mean, having looked and studied the small cap market in South Africa, I mean, it's incredibly challenging to raise capital through the listed environment, engage both retail and institutional shareholders. What's been your take of being a listed small cap or mid cap on the JSE? Has it been worth it, and would you have done things differently?
So for us, it's actually going to be 7 years now on the 12th of July since we've listed. We do think it was the right call. However, we don't think it's yielded the results we thought it would. So the reason for us listing was to be able to raise capital, both equity and debt, and that journey has been stagnant. But however, we do think that we have not fully explored what this platform can offer. And therefore, with now our results increasing, we've now got strong company growth, we think that the investors will gain confidence and therefore we can then reap the rewards. So we're really confident in this and the listing, and we think that there's more to come.
And geez, I didn't actually realize it was as long as 7 years. I mean, that's quite a story. Any thoughts around what could be done to enhance the small cap market in South Africa in terms of stakeholder engagement?
So for us, and I mean, we've been listed 7 years, we think that it's also an important platform for people to be able to raise equity. But I think there's a bit of simplifying the listing requirements would maybe reduce the complexity, also the listing fees. So just trying to be able to make it attractive to the smaller companies. So offer support services, offer workshops in order to navigate the listing requirements. So I think the listing environment is very onerous and very administrative. So if we lessen that, it will actually then make it more attractive. And also I think the support that the JSE could do is just to ensure that they've got capital raising workshops. How do you raise capital? But also I think on the other side, being on the investor, I think there's more education that's needed on the investor to the general public, just to say, what are the benefits of investing in small companies? How do you make sure that they increase their liquidity, they grow in terms of the market cap? So I think for me, either both sides, on the company listing side, but also on the general public in terms of just the educational side of it.
Turning our attention to your recently released financial results, could you maybe give us kind of a high-level overview of the results, but also kind of what you think were highlights from this year's last year of trading?
Yeah, so we are pleased with the set of results that we recently released. We reached a huge milestone in our lives, being R1 billion in NAV. So our net asset value increased by about 19% from the prior year, and therefore we reached the billion rand mark. And therefore, we think for us, this is a stepping stone for more billions in a shorter space of time. We know it took us about 7 years to reach the billion rand, but we think that going into the future, we're actually going to have with more growth, faster growth compared to what we had. So I think the biggest contributor for us has been the asset light, being the value added that we've added. So we've had 3 major contributions, being a pharmacy distribution, radiology, and pathology. So those were the biggest additions, but also we've also seen a turnaround in our operations. So I think what we've termed this is stability and growth. So we've seen stability in terms of the current assets, which is the hospitals, but then we've also then seen growth being then in the new asset light strategy. So for us, I think it's been a good year, really, really confident that we can improve on here. But also the other focus that we had was just in terms of operational efficiencies in the investments, and therefore ensuring that they declare dividends. So made our major investments declared dividend to the holding company being RH Bophelo. So we're really pleased with that. And we also want to continue in terms of making sure that we get the return on these investments that we've put in.
It's a nice segue into the next question, I think. I mean, you're obviously the numbers person behind this business. I mean, what are the metrics? You're going through a growth phase at the moment. What are the metrics you think you have the greatest area to focus on, or that investors should say, you know, you got this right in terms of your executional strategy?
So I think for us, what's important is probably 3 matrices that we measure. And the first one is just improving EBITDA. So we think that once we get the operational efficiencies correct, then we can have higher EBITDAs. Higher EBITDAs for us mean liquidity, therefore we can have cash. So I think what we need from these investments is that they then deliver dividends to the holding company, who can then in turn give dividends to the shareholders. So that's our intent. And I think then the one other one that we want to focus on is just in terms of transformation and BE. So in terms of our service providers, being intentional in terms of who we partner with in terms of our suppliers. So those are the major, say, 3 matrices that we want to focus on in the current year so that we can then achieve the desired results that we want.
We look at the JSE, I mean, it's in terms of the healthcare space, it's typically dominated by Netcare and Life, who are obviously in a different place in their growth environment. Is it fair to do a comparison between your organization and those 2 organizations, or where do you think the difference lies in terms of value proposition?
So we're actually not competing with Netcare and Life and any of the big ones, Medicare as well. We've got a different market, so we don't compete in the same market. So our market is, firstly, the areas we operate in is peri-urban and rural areas, and our market is lower to middle income. So what we want is people that can afford healthcare, but not at the current rates. And therefore, we then come in and we provide quality healthcare at reasonable prices. So that's essentially that. So we don't see them as competition, but what we want to do is that in the space that we're in, we want to be pioneers. We want to be market leaders in the medium to lower income end bracket.
One of the things you mentioned earlier was obviously the dividends from the subsidiary businesses. I think one of the characteristics of you guys since being listed is that you have returned capital to shareholders in the form of dividends. I mean, maybe just one, is that a strategic decision from the company? And is there an argument to be made that that capital should be retained in the business if you are going through a growth phase?
So, yes. So we've got maybe our strategy is that we've got 2 sets of shareholders. We've got shareholders that want short-term, therefore distributions, and then you've got shareholders that want equity growth, therefore long-term. So for us, it's trying to balance the investors that we have and trying to satisfy them, and also being able to see that because you've invested so much, therefore there is a return that you're getting. So it's a matter of balance. It's a matter of seeing our liquidity as well. So at the point we had the cash, there was, and we could see that our new strategy, being the asset light, doesn't require a lot of capital. So it's less capital intensive versus buying a hospital, which is a physical infrastructure. So therefore, we then decided to say, let's then return the capital that we're not going to use for the future. But however, it's also a balancing factor, but also the strategy will change at a given point in time. At the point we want to go back and we see a strategic investment in a physical infrastructure, we'll then have to do that. So for us, I think it's just making sure that all shareholders are happy.
Yondie, last question from my side, really. Yeah, do you have any closing message to your stakeholders or shareholders who may be watching this interview?
So I think for us, we're really grateful that we got to be given an opportunity to be a fully Black-owned health investment entity. So I think what's important for us is that the support that they've given us in order to be the market leader. So that's what we're trying to see with the results that we have. We've seen that we can actually, with the investments you've made, we can grow it. And that's what we want to say. Give us another 7 years and we should be talking a different story. So we're really excited about this trajectory. We really want all our stakeholders, so that's our shareholders, government, and even our customers to be part of this journey with us. So really our core focus is to provide affordable healthcare for all and to grow this business and make it a multi-year billion business.
Yondie, thank you for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you.